The jungle was a green hell, and 12 Navy SEALs were dying in it. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Hendris pressed his 6-foot frame against a moss-covered log, trying to become invisible as bullets chewed through the vegetation inches above his head. The distinctive crack of AK-47s mixed with the heavier thump of machine gun fire, creating a symphony of death that had been playing for the last 20 minutes without pause. "Viper 6, this is Ground Team Alpha," Hendris shouted into his radio, his voice competing with the chaos around him. "We need immediate air support, we need QRF, we need anything. We're getting massacred out here." The response that crackled through his earpiece was not what he wanted to hear. "Ground Team Alpha, no air assets available. Heavy weather has everything. Grounded. QRF is 40 minutes out minimum. You need to hold your position. 40 minutes. Hendris did the brutal mathematics in his head. They'd all be dead in 10. The mission had been textbook until it wasn't. Intelligence said the compound would have maybe 20 hostiles light resistance in and out before breakfast. But intelligence had been catastrophically wrong. The compound had been a trap, and now his team was surrounded by what looked like an entire battalion of well-trained, well-equipped fighters who knew exactly what they were doing. "Chief!" His teammate Rodriguez shouted over the gunfire, pointing toward the left flank. "We got movement. They're trying to surround us." Hendris watched as enemy fighters maneuvered through the jungle with tactical precision. These weren't amateurs. They were using fire and maneuver tactics, maintaining proper intervals, communicating with hand signals. Professional soldiers who had them dead to rights. He keyed his radio one more time, his voice calm despite the chaos erupting around them. "Viper 6, Ground Team Alpha, if you've got anyone nearby, now would be a really good time." There was a long pause, filled only with the sound of incoming fire and his own team's desperate return volleys. Then a voice he'd never heard before came through his earpiece, female, young, and calm as ice water. "Ground Team Alpha, I have your position. I'm inbound. Tell your boys to keep their heads down. This is about to get interesting." "Who the hell is this?" Hendris demanded. "Someone who doesn't miss." Before Hendris could respond, the jungle erupted with a sound he'd heard countless times in combat, the distinctive crack of a precision rifle. But this wasn't random fire. This was surgical, the enemy machine gunner who'd been tearing apart. Their position crumpled silently, his weapon falling from nerveless fingers. Another shot rang out, and the spotter next to him dropped. A third shot, and the enemy commander coordinating the assault fell backward, a neat hole where his forehead used to be. "What the hell is happening?" Rodriguez whispered, his eyes wide as he watched hostile after hostile fall to an invisible shooter. Hendris stared into the dense jungle, trying to locate the source of the shots. Whoever she was operating at a level he'd rarely seen, even among the military's most elite snipers. Each shot was finding a target his team couldn't even see, eliminating threats with a precision that seemed almost supernatural. "Ground Team Alpha," the voice came through again, still maddeningly calm. "I count 25 hostiles in your engagement area. Give me 2 minutes, and whatever you do, don't shoot the person coming from your 6 o'clock. That's me." 25 hostiles. She was planning to drop 25 enemy fighters alone for the next 8 minutes. Marcus Hendris and his team witnessed something that would become legend in the special operations community. Sabrina Cole, a 28-year-old military intelligence contractor whose name appeared nowhere in official records, single-handedly turned a massacre into a rescue, operating from 800 meters away, concealed in dense triple canopy jungle. She methodically eliminated enemy fighters with surgical precision. Her first priority was the machine gun teams the crew served, weapons that were keeping the SEALs pinned down and unable to maneuver. One shot and the gunner fell. Another shot, his assistant followed. Then she moved to the enemy commanders, the men coordinating the assault with hand signals and radio calls. Without leadership, the attack began to falter. Next came the heavy weapons operators' RPG teams, preparing to fire high-explosive rounds into the SEAL position. Mortar crews calling in coordinates, snipers scanning for American targets. Each one dropped before they could complete their mission. Sabrina worked through her target list with methodical efficiency, prioritizing threats, calculating windage and elevation for each shot, accounting for humidity, temperature, and the countless variables that separated good shooting from impossible shooting. The enemy forces, initially confident in their overwhelming numbers, began to panic. Fighters fell without warning. Their leaders disappeared mid-sentence. Their weapons. Specialists crumpled before they could engage. They started shooting wildly into the jungle, wasting ammunition on empty terrain, unable to locate or effectively return fire against a shooter they couldn't see. The SEALs, understanding they had a guardian angel, began maneuvering more aggressively. They laid down suppressive fire, used the enemy's confusion to improve their position, and evacuated their wounded. The desperate radio traffic from minutes earlier transformed into grim determination when the last enemy fighter finally broke and ran. Abandoning weapons and wounded in their panic to escape, the jungle fell silent except for the normal sounds of insects and birds. Sabrina remained in position for several minutes, scanning through her thermal scope to ensure the retreat wasn't a feint. Only when she was certain the area was clear did she key her radio again. "Ground Team Alpha, hostiles are retreating. Your area is secure. I'm coming to you. Don't shoot me." She heard the exhaustion and relief in Chief Hendriss's response. "Copy. That, we see you on thermals. Come ahead." "And ma'am, I don't know who the hell you are, but you just saved 12 lives today." Sabrina broke down her hide. Carefully policing her brass, leaving evidence behind was unprofessional, and began moving toward the SEAL position. She moved carefully, making noise to announce her presence, keeping her rifle pointed at the ground, in a non-threatening manner. The last thing she needed was to survive the battle only to get shot by friendly fire. She emerged from the jungle to find 12 of America's most elite warriors staring at her like she'd just materialized from thin air, which, from their perspective, she basically had. Chief Hendriss was a big man, 6 feet of solid muscle with a beard and tactical gear that made him look like a modern Viking. He studied her with professional interest, taking in her compact frame, the custom rifle slung across her back, the ghillie suit components still attached to her gear. "You're the shooter?" he asked, his tone suggesting he was still processing what had just happened. "I'm the shooter," Sabrina confirmed calmly. "How many did you drop?" 25 confirmed. "Maybe more, hard to tell with the ones behind cover." Rodriguez, the SEAL who'd been calling out enemy positions during the fight, shook his head in disbelief. "Ma'am, I've been shooting my whole adult life. I'm a designated marksman." "And what you just did ... that was superhuman." "Just training and practice," Sabrina said with a slight smile. "And good timing. You guys were about to have a really bad day." "We were about to have our last day," Hendriss corrected, extending his hand. "Chief Petty Officer Marcus Hendriss, and you are?" "Sabrina Cole, military intelligence contractor." "Contractor?" Another SEAL repeated, his tone skeptical. "What kind of contractor operates alone in hostile territory and shoots like a Delta Force sniper?" "The kind that gets hired for situations like this," Sabrina replied evenly. She wasn't offended by the skepticism. She'd dealt with it her entire career, the assumption that because she was young and female, she couldn't possibly be as skilled as her record suggested. She'd learned long ago to let her work speak for itself. The extraction went smoothly, 2 Blackhawks coming in fast and low to pull the team out of the kill zone. As the helicopter lifted off, banking away from the jungle and accelerating toward safety, Hendriss sat across from Sabrina, studying her with an expression that mixed gratitude with professional curiosity. "Miss Cole," he said over the headset, "when we get back, there are going to be a lot of people who want to talk to you. Debriefs, after-action reports, probably some medals and commendations." "I'd prefer to avoid all of that if possible," Sabrina replied. "I work better when people don't know who I am or what I do." But avoiding attention proved impossible, because Sabrina's day was far from over. The debriefing took place at a classified facility hidden deep in the jungle, a covert operations base that officially didn't exist. Sabrina sat across from Colonel James Hartwell, a career intelligence officer with 20 years of experience in special operations. Chief Hendress sat to her right, still in his combat gear, refusing to leave until he'd personally ensured Sabrina received proper recognition for what she'd done. Miss Cole, the colonel began, reviewing preliminary reports on his tablet. I've been reading Chief Hendress's account of today's engagement. The numbers are, frankly, hard to believe. 25 confirmed enemy kills from a single shooter, at ranges exceeding 800 meters in jungle conditions, while the targets were actively engaged in combat operations. That's accurate, sir, Sabrina confirmed. I've been in this business a long time, Miss Cole. I've worked with some of the best snipers the military has ever produced. What you're describing represents a level of marksmanship that approaches the theoretical maximum of what's humanly possible. I had good conditions, sir. Clear sight lines from my position, thermal optics to identify targets through vegetation. And the enemy was focused on the SEAL team, not looking for a threat from my position. Those factors combined to create an ideal engagement scenario. Ideal. For you, perhaps. Catastrophic for the enemy. Before the conversation could continue, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red emergency lights began strobing in the corridors, casting everything in an eerie crimson glow. The colonel's radio erupted with urgent traffic. Sir, we have a situation. Enemy assault force approaching from multiple vectors. Estimated force. Strength between 40 and 50 hostiles. They're heavily armed and moving with tactical coordination. Distance to perimeter, 800 meters and closing. Sabrina saw the color drain from the colonel's face. This facility was supposed to be secret, secured by its remote location and careful operational security. An enemy assault here would be catastrophic not just for the personnel present, but for the intelligence compromise it represented. Lock down the facility, Hartwell ordered, his voice steady despite the crisis. Get everyone armed and in defensive positions. Call for QRF support. Sir, QRF is 25 minutes out minimum. Weather's deteriorating. We might not get air support at all. The colonel looked at his tactical display, watching red icons representing enemy forces converging on the facility from 3 different directions. How many combat-capable personnel do we have on site? 15, sir. But only 5 have recent combat experience. The rest are support staff intel analysts, communication specialists, medical personnel. Against 50 trained fighters, Hendress said grimly, already checking his weapon. My team's here, but we're down to maybe 60% combat effectiveness. We're wounded, exhausted, and low on ammunition. Sabrina was already standing, her mind shifting from debrief mode to combat operations. She moved to the facility's tactical display, studying the terrain, the approach vectors, the defensive positions. Colonel, I need detailed topography of the area surrounding this facility. Elevation data, vegetation density, natural choke points. Miss Cole, you're a civilian contractor who just saved 12 Navy SEALs and who has capabilities you clearly need right now. Sabrina interrupted. Sir, with respect, we don't have time for protocol discussions. That enemy force will be in assault range in 10 minutes. We need to set up a defense, and we need to do it now. Hartwell hesitated only a moment, then nodded. Show her everything. Miss Cole, what do you need? Sabrina studied the tactical display, her fingers tracing potential firing positions, calculating ranges and angles. The facility was built into a hillside, surrounded by dense jungle on 3 sides with a cleared approach on the 4th. She could see natural choke points where the jungle thinned, high ground positions that would provide clear sight lines. I need to get outside the perimeter, she said. Set up in an elevated position with clear sight lines to the enemy approach. Vectors. Same tactics as before. I'll engage at long range, disrupt their assault coordination. Eliminate high-value targets, buy time for your QRF to arrive. That's a suicide mission, one of the other officers protested. You'll be completely exposed. Behind enemy lines with no support and no extraction plan. I'll be 800 to 1,000 meters from their assault positions, Sabrina corrected. Concealed in jungle terrain that I've already scouted, engaging targets from a position they can't easily locate or effectively return fire on. It's not suicide, it's asymmetric warfare, Hendricks spoke up. Colonel, I've seen what she can do. If she says she can hold off that assault force, I believe her. My team will hold the facility perimeter. We'll create a defensive kill zone at the cleared approaches. She picks off their leadership and heavy weapons. We handle anyone who makes it through. It's not a great plan, but it's better than getting overrun. The colonel looked at Sabrina for a long moment, weighing impossible options. Finally, he nodded. Do it. But Miss Cole, if the situation becomes untenable, you extract immediately. We can't afford to lose someone with your capabilities over a facility that can be rebuilt. Understood, sir. Sabrina grabbed extra ammunition, checked her gear, and headed for the exit. As she moved past Hendricks, he caught her arm. Hey, he said quietly, you don't owe us this. You already saved us once today. Nobody would blame you for sitting this one out. This isn't about owing anybody anything, Chief, Sabrina replied. There are people in this facility who can't defend themselves. Support staff who never signed up for a firefight. They need someone to keep them safe. That's reason enough. She slipped out through a camouflage side entrance, moving quickly but carefully through the jungle. Behind her, she could hear the SEALs organizing the defense, their voices calm and professional despite the desperate situation. Sabrina reached her planned position in less than 5 minutes. Rocky outcrop on a hillside about 900 meters from the facility, elevated 20 meters above the valley floor. The position offered excellent sight lines down into the approaches while providing natural cover from return fire. She constructed a hasty hide using available vegetation, settled into a stable firing position, and began scanning through her scope. The enemy force was larger than initial reports suggested. Through her thermal optics, she counted at least 55 fighters, organized into squad-sized elements of 8 to 10 men each, moving with tactical discipline that suggested professional military training. She keyed her radio. Command, this is Overwatch. I'm in position. I count 55 enemy fighters organized in 5 assault squads plus a command element. They're 300 meters from your perimeter enclosing. Beginning engagement. Roger, Overwatch, the colonel responded. You are cleared hot. Watch your fire. Some of our people might be in forward positions. Sabrina identified her first priority target, the overall assault commander, distinguishable by his position. Behind the main force and the cluster of radio operators and officers around him, he was gesturing, giving orders, coordinating the multi-directional assault. Taking him out would disrupt their command and control immediately. She calculated the shot. 920 meters. Slight crosswind from the east. High humidity. Temperature dropping as the sun set behind the mountains. She adjusted for all variables, let her breathing settle, and squeezed the trigger. The commander dropped instantly, his officers scattering in confusion. Sabrina didn't give them time to reorganize. Her second shot took down the nearest officer who tried to take command. Her third eliminated a radio operator who was probably calling for instructions. The enemy assault faltered immediately. Squad leaders looked back toward their command element, seeking guidance that was no longer there. In that moment of confusion, Sabrina shifted her aim to the leading assault elements. For the next 15 minutes, Sabrina Cole put on a display of marksmanship. That would be discussed in hushed tones in special operations circles for years to come. Target after target fell machine gunners, RPG teams, squad leaders, snipers, anyone who attempted to coordinate the assault or bring effective fire to bear on the facility. By her 27th confirmed kill, the enemy assault had completely collapsed. The surviving fighters were retreating in disorder, dragging wounded and abandoning equipment. The facility was saved without firing a shot from its perimeter. When Colonel Hartwell personally walked out to Sabrina's position with Chief Hendricks and several other officers, his expression was pure bewilderment. Miss Cole, he said slowly, I've just reviewed the preliminary casualty assessment. 27 confirmed enemy kills from a single shooter in less than 15 minutes. This is beyond anything I've seen in 20 years of special operations. Just doing my job. Sir, Sabrina replied, still scanning the jungle for threats. No, Hendris interjected firmly. No, ma'am, this is not just doing your job. I've worked with the best shooters in the SEAL teams, with special operations snipers who've spent their entire careers perfecting this craft. And none of them could have done what you did today. Not once, and certainly not twice. The SEALs gathered around her before she left, and Hendris presented her with their Team Challenge coin, a sacred token rarely given to outsiders. You might not wear the trident, he said, but you've earned the respect that goes with it. We're calling you the Guardian Angel, the silent guardian who watches over operators in trouble. The entire team responded in unison. Hoo-yah! Weeks later, while training military snipers at an undisclosed location, Sabrina's phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Hendris. Guardian Angel, situation developing that could use your particular skill set. Location classified, duration unknown, more importantly, Americans in trouble. Interested? Sabrina looked back at her students practicing on the range. They were good shooters who would benefit from her instruction, but they didn't desperately need her. Not like those Americans in trouble. She typed a single word, inbound, because that's who Sabrina Cole was, the mysterious contractor nobody knew about until the moment they desperately needed her. She packed her custom rifle and carefully selected ammunition, not knowing where she was going or what she'd face. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. When she settled into position and looked through that scope, someone's impossible day was about to get better. The Guardian Angel was coming, and she never missed.